Hello everyone, I'm bringing you a video today which is something of a remake of a previous video uploaded on the channel looking at a British Second War era general service respirator. I'm going to start looking at some of the older videos on the channel and possibly remaking some of them, particularly those looking at respirators. I think obviously the new sound recording system and so forth, lighting and various other details, the production quality of the videos is a lot better than it used to be. Still not professional by any means, but a lot better than it used to be. So I would like to obviously remake some of these earlier videos and talk a little bit more. Probably there'll be a little bit more detail in them as well. So this is one of those, and I'll be deleting the previous videos as I produce better versions of them. So what we're going to have a look at here, as I say, is this general service respirator. It's a rather nice example in that it's in a Haversack, which I believe is the one originally issued with the respirator. It also contains the anti-gas ointment and the cotton waste, which I believe are original to the Haversack as well. And I think the anti-dim is in there as well. And as far as I'm aware, these contents are all original to the Haversack. It came to me as one set. So from that point of view, it's quite nice. And we'll have a look at this in some detail now. A little bit of damage on the Haversack, but otherwise a nice example. So we're going to have a look at this in some detail now. So this is the respirator Haversack and the contents, which we're going to have a look at here. Obviously we have the general service respirator in here and the various accessories. We're going to talk about all of that in some detail. This particular example, for those who aren't familiar with these, this is a Mark 6 respirator Haversack and contains the general service respirator. And as I say, as far as I'm aware, the contents are original to this Haversack. It certainly came with it. So it's quite a nice example from that point of view. There's a little bit of damage on the other side, as we'll see, but otherwise a very nice example. This particular example is dated 1940. It's made of a sort of thin, flaxy canvas material, which is not uncommon. You see these made in various different materials, from a sort of more finely woven canvas to this sort of more rough canvas material. The strap itself is made of a webbing material. You can see this was made by Maple in 1940. We'll obviously have a detailed look at the external details of this before looking at the various contents. So looking at this side here, this is the side that faces the body, and the main flap for accessing the respirator is here. So this would open away from you and could indeed be left open when worn at the alert for easy access to the respirator if required. And then on the other side, we have the compartments under a separate flap for both the anti-gas eye shields and also the anti-gas ointment and the cotton waste, which is carried in this compartment here. So that's the basics of the outside of this. The Mark 6 has these two separate compartments accessed from separate flaps. And this was a change from the Mark 5, which had everything under one flap and didn't have these separate compartments as we have here. We have D-rings here, of course, and you can see how you have the reinforcement stitched in here to attach these. So you have the strip of cloth, the strip of canvas which attaches these D-rings is sewn in a V shape in the side. You see on the other side here we don't have that, just sewn into the seam there on this side. So that attaches the whipcord, which can be used to secure this around the body when it's carried at the alert, around the chest, or around the hip when carried down on the hip. And for that purpose, for the purpose of carrying this at different heights, the shoulder strap has two adjustment buckles, as you can see there. And these can be shortened right down as we have them here. And then the string comes around and loops through this, pulls it down behind the back to carry this high on the chest at the alert, or these can be loosened out and it can be carried down on the hip for that purpose. You also have a hook, which can be used to shorten this up to the alert in an emergency. So you have that brass hook on one of the larger D-rings at the side here, to which the shoulder strap attaches. And the shoulder strap for the Mark 6 is fully detachable. You have hooks on each end, which means this can be unhooked if required. And hooks can be moved to these D-rings to carry it in different ways. You can carry it on the back, moving this round to carry it sort of on a sling around the shoulder and so forth. So it's quite versatile from that point of view. Sometimes you'll see these with the hook moved to this loop here. And in those instances, it was used generally with the long hose respirator, and the long hose of the respirator would have a small loop with a metal eyelet in it, so you could actually hook the hose onto the strap. This being carried down on the hip, this would come across the chest, and you could hook the hose to it to keep all that secure. So that's something you'll sometimes see with these, is the hook moved to this buckle here. That's why you have a buckle with a hole through it there, an extra piece to the end there with a hole through it for that hook if required. The nice thing with this is the strap and the Haversack match. Just be careful opening this up. We'll have a look at the respirator next. You can see under the flap here we again have the stamp there. Indeed, you have the Mark 6 designation there, a little bit of staining here, but you can see the VI there, hopefully. And then Maple 1940, again, the manufacturing stamp underneath the flap there. And this really is made of quite a thin canvas material, and say very rough, coarse canvas material, as you can see there. Inside we have general service respirator here, Mark V face piece, and we have the canister here. If we open this up, or pull this out rather, so you can see we have the E6 canister there, 1940. You can see the E6 designation at the bottom there, and the manufacturer, BW&M Limited, and then number 4A at the top. So these canisters, the air is taken in down here through a particulate filter, and then you have an activated charcoal layer in here, and these do contain asbestos as part of the filter medium, so that's important to note. This particular example has a cloth covered hose, and you can see this here in very nice supple condition, and this leads up to the face piece. You do see these with black hoses as well, and obviously the face piece is the Mark IV version of the face piece was covered in this material as well. But you don't have this in this instance. It's a Mark V face piece, so it has the plain black rubber, as you can see here. We manoeuvre this round, and this of course is the reason for the haversack being worn on the chest. For this particular design of respirator, you have a short hose, the canister stays in the haversack, and then this has to reach up to the face. So for this to be carried at the alert and then used, you have to have the canister in the haversack up on the chest with this hose then running up to the face piece. You can see here we have a date of 41, and I think L&B there, which would be Leyland and Birmingham rubber there. And you can see here there is an attachment, a moulding here, which could be used to fit a microphone if required. So the Mark V introduced this. Previously you'd had the specialty mic version of the respirator, and this introduced this to the face piece, so these could be modified and a clamp used to clamp a microphone into these if required. That was the idea anyway, of the change to the face piece design. So plain black rubber there. Otherwise the exhale valve and so forth is similar to that which had been used previously, and that's underneath this here. Obviously that can be unscrewed if required to access there for maintenance. The hose just clamps onto there. We have a harness at the back, and you can see here that has marking and a date on it again of January 1941. And this is made of a cloth reinforced rubber. Elastic straps the head harness there. These double back through buckles around the edge, which is a common feature of British respirators from the preceding Mark IV. You see this on earlier designs as well, and all the way through to the light anti-gas respirator. This system was used. I think you have a similar system with the S6, if I remember correctly, slightly different design of buckle, but then the excess of the elastic just doubles back on itself and has a little keeper piece here, which keeps that sort of, if you slide all these out, keeps the elastic, the excess length of elastic sort of neatly tucked against the other piece. And the elastic on this is really in nice condition as well, nice and stretchy. If we pull the head harness forward like this, we can have a look inside the face piece. If I get that piece of elastic out of the way as well. There we go. So you can see the reinforcement here where the harness attaches on. You can see that there, where these buckles rivet in place around the edge. And as you can see, it's just an open face piece with the eyepieces there, and then the intake valve, the exhale valve there. So this mounting at the front here serves as both the intake off the canister and also the exhale valve at the front here. So you pull air in through the canister and then exhale out through these holes here through the exhale valve. So that's the basics of the general service respirator. And as I say, this is very, very similar to the preceding design. Obviously, the design of the light anti-gas respirator which followed is similar, apart from you only have the exhale valve in the front here, and you actually have the canister on the side, and obviously a separate intake valve there for the canister. But the face piece is otherwise very, very similar. So, you know, the light anti-gas respirator, a gradual change away from this in having the canister attached to the face piece, but the face piece is nevertheless very similar. That's the respirator there that we have in this haversack, and as I say, as far as I'm aware, this came with it. Well, as far as I'm aware, sorry, it did come with it. As far as I'm aware, it's original to it. We then have some cotton waste here. Now, this is what should be carried for decontamination purposes, and this is period cotton waste, all different colours, and it's basically threads. And cotton waste was a common item. It's very absorbent. It was used for cleaning in various applications. Railways used this as a cleaning product rather than cloths. Cotton waste was commonly used. So we have a wadge of cotton waste there. And in theory, some of this should also be carried with the anti-gas ointment tin, but the cotton waste in this haversack is in this internal compartment in here. You can see, as well as the main compartment, which is divided for the respirator, canister for the canister and face piece in there. You also have this full width compartment here, and that's where we found the cotton waste in there. You can see here the length of whipcord, which is used to secure this, as already mentioned. Obviously I keep that tucked away in there as well when it's not being used. Then down inside the main compartment, we can get light in here. Let's bring this light round here so we can see. You can see in the bottom there, we have the anti-dimming outfit. And again, I believe this is the original that came with the set. That's just rolling around in there. There is a loop for it. So it must have come out of the loop. So we'll get that out of there. You can see here, this is the anti-dimming outfit, and this is a little bit worse for wear, unfortunately. But you can see this is a Mark V anti-dimming outfit. And you can see there the date of 1940 on this end. The other end is a bit rusty. I have put some cure rust on that in the past to stabilise it, so it shouldn't be rusting any further. But you can see that there, 1940, and the manufacturer there, H&L. So that's the anti-dimming outfit, and this is basically a compound and a cloth. You can use this to apply, use the cloth inside this to apply the compound at the other end to the eyepieces of the respirator, and this stops them, or helps to stop them from fogging up. You use similar compounds today on diving masks and things like this. The use of this sort of compound is still common today in certain instances. Most respirators now, of course, have a way of directing the incoming air over the eyepieces to stop them fogging up, but this was a system which had been around since the Great War, and these were still issued with the S6 respirators. They still form part of the outfit for the S6 as well, even though that had the system of drawing air in over the eyepieces, so still seem as being necessary with that particular type of respirator. So a long-lived bit of kit, and the post-war examples are very similar to this. The Mark VI was a simplified version, and then the Mark VII was introduced, which basically went back to this design. So that's the anti-dimming outfit there. And as I say, there is a loop at the other end. If we get the light in here again, you can see the loop of cloth down there, and that's where that should sit. So it's just popped out of there in storage, and I hadn't noticed before starting filming, so it should live in that loop down there. You can also see from this side the ventilation eyelets in the bottom there with the little mesh, the little grills over those. They aren't mesh, they're a drilled or a stamped brass piece with lots of little holes in there, and that obviously allows air to get into the bottom of the respirator haversack, which aids in drawing air through the canister. And it also means that it drains it. If this were to get wet, water would drain out of the bottom easily as well. So that's the main compartment there, and the little side compartment off it, and obviously the location where you would store the anti-dimming outfit. So we've had a look at that as well. Put that up out of the way. Open up the other compartment here and get this one done. I'm always quite careful with the snaps on this, because I always feel the cloth is quite delicate, and they're not terribly stiff. I just definitely don't want to damage this, obviously. So we have, first of all, on this side, in this slightly larger compartment, we have the eye shields, and this is a pack of 6 eye shields anti-gas Mark II, which would be correct for this sort of period of setup. So this really is early 1941 onwards, obviously due to the particular design of the respirator and the dates on the respirator we have here. But you can see here, no date here, but we do have, can we see if I can get the little bit of shadow on here? You can see the 1940 HS 1940 date stamped into the box down there. Actually, that's coming up quite nicely in the light there, but that's just been sort of stamped into the cardboard there. If I'm careful with this, just open this up, show you we do have the eye shields inside here, and this shows how these were originally stored in here. They have paper between them to stop them sticking together. The canvas here, the material used to make the top of these that buttons together to form them into the right sort of shape to be a pair of eye shields once they're removed from the box, is made of an anti-gas material, so that obviously has stuck together. It's made of, I believe this is the same sort of linseed oil impregnated material you see gas capes and so forth being made from. So they will stick together, and they have over the years, but the paper is supposed to stop that happening. So you have the eye shields there, as you can see, and they fasten around with elastic, of course, and they basically button together. We'll have a look at a set of eye shields. I do have a set outside the box. We'll probably have a look at those at some point in the future. I'll dig out several different versions of the boxes and packets for eye shields, and we'll have a look through those, how they evolved during the war. Of course, they were used post-war as well. So we have a box of the eye shields there, for which this particular compartment is perfectly sized. Eye shields there, pop them up at the top, out of the way. And then in this compartment here, you see this has damaged the canvas a little bit, is a set of anti-gas ointment tubes. Now again, this has sort of been stabilized as best I can to not rust away any further. As you can see, it's got squashed at some point in the past. But this contains the original anti-gas ointment tubes. Now these contain a bleach paste, which obviously isn't too kind on the tin work, the steel. They have a cardboard insert here, as you can see, and this is a nice original tin with the original corrugated padding in the top of the tin there, and the original card insert. And each of these tubes is marked ointment anti-gas and has the instructions on them as well. You can see that there, it's quite nice. These are sort of flipped over, so you can see the various instructions which come on these, which appear on these. Ointment anti-gas number 2, the instructions are on the front here as well. I don't know if there's a date on this, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think there is. But again, you have the details on the bottom here. You're actually supposed to tear the end off the tube, and then you can use it in this manner, as you can see here. So some of the items, obviously the box there is squashed as well, but from the point of view of having this as one set of bits and pieces that all came together, and as far as I'm aware, are original to the Haversack, this is one set of bits and pieces which were, as far as I'm aware, all issued out at the time and have stayed together. Rather nice from that point of view. So that's the anti-gas ointment there. As I say, you can see where that has damaged the Haversack in the past, which is a bit of a shame, but nevertheless nice to have all these bits and pieces together. And in theory, as I say, you would have some of the cotton waste in here as well, ready for use for decontamination. So the cotton waste is supposed to absorb the blistering agent, basically mustard gas, from the skin, and then the ointment can be used to treat the burns. But the cotton waste should be removed, should be used to remove the majority of the agent first before using this. And obviously the bleach paste would neutralize that particular agent. That's the idea. So that's a quick look through this Haversack, the contents, and also obviously the respirator itself, which we have here. I'll just lay all these little bits out here. Hopefully it's been interesting looking through these bits and pieces. As I say, this is a remake, so there will be further remakes of videos looking at respirators going forward, slightly more polished with a little bit more information in them, all being well. So there it is. That's a Mark V facepiece, general service respirator in a Mark VI Haversack, and we've had a look at the other bits and pieces there as well. So I hope you found it interesting looking at this. If you'd like to see more of the sort of re-uploads of videos looking at respirators and so forth, and some of the other earlier topics I covered on the channel in slightly better quality videos going forward, and obviously if you'd like to see my newer original uploads as well, please do consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. And whether you're newly subscribing or you've previously subscribed, please do make sure you hit the little bell, the notification button down below. That will of course alert you when I upload future videos. If you really like my uploads and you would like to support the channel, you can. Both Patreon and PayPal are linked down below. And as I always say, a massive thank you to everybody who supports the channel using those two methods. It really is greatly appreciated, so I always say thank you all very much indeed. If you'd like to follow the channel on social media, you can. Facebook, Instagram and Twitter are all linked down below. And if you'd like to get in touch but you don't really use social media, there is of course an email address in the description as well. That's everything for this video, so until next time, bye for now.